Xylem Phloem. Art by Joanne MacDonald. Story by Christopher Tuplin. I have heard the trees, not the whisper of winds amidst leaves, or the subtle creak of trunk and branch like the kitchen floors on a midnight snack scavenge. Real speech. A spirit as viscous as sap in wooded veins. An onomatopoeic subsonic howl. I assume this is why we call their skin bark, as someone before me has heard this. I have heard their whine as an unceremonious woodpecker peels away at their flesh and reels a grub from below their hardened epidermis. I have heard their coo as they draw in a bee to pollinate a single bloom. I used to think it was tinnitus of the ear, an encyclopedic ringing as I walked about the forested trails near my family home. But soon the ring became voice, melodic and vibrant, charming and full to the brim. I remember as a child, I would wander throughout glades and glen, brushing my hand against their pyloned stalks, ignorant to a language with more depth than words could ever capture, a speech more intricate than that of the most articulate Latin. I craved to understand the meaning of their banter, pressing my ear against their rough skin, and whispering questions of rooted entanglement and how it must be to soak up the earth. With time, I began to understand theirs was not an utterance of a proverbial what, but of how, when, where, and why. They spoke of growth, of tendrils spreading below my feet like neurons and crowns lifting towards the sun like lungs. They sang of others before them, visions of evolution and exile. I could hear their breath, like staccatos, as they moved in a subtle inhale-exhale between stanzas. They conversed while simultaneously harmonizing in what I can only imagine is a choral threading of thought. As I aged, their song became one of melancholy, destruction, and the chipping away of a universal entity. The tune broke as fewer voices contributed towards the wheeling, chainsaw, and paper mill. I could no longer speak to others of my own kind. Their words were harsh and unceremonious alongside that of the trees. There is no heartwood in human language, simply vibration and ego. How could I forgive a species that could unweave a rhythm so well preserved? I could not exchange my loneliness with the forest, as they had no use for my unevolved tongue. So I sat undoing and simple among them, and listened as their story grew bitter and decrepit. No longer did they celebrate the loss of another, the exchange of death and composition with that of life and renewal. This was murder. This was misery. I laid myself down and wept, for I have known nothing like the serenade and dolente. Pressed against the crux of root, trunk, and sorrow, I whispered my apologies and pity for those who could not hear their outcry. Their lullabic eulogy flowed through the phloem like pipeline, the undammed mourning of needless loss. I felt their hateless grief inside my body, slowed through layers of Cambrian cell and chlorophyll. My eyelids soon fell like the stolen kin of these trees. Then, silence. Now I sit amidst gold-leaf forest, a song as crisp as the first bud of spring after winter's naked neglect. I hear the choir of a creature connected, through oxen and twig, through song and loss, the arboreal ghosts of trillions. I cannot understand their words, but there is no need for syntax here. This is something all-encompassed, not spoken, something rooted to rise. There is still an undertone of sawdust in their refrain, but it blows about the feet of hope that someone may listen and make the choice to sing along.